Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi, Legendary Video Capital. So, Fire Season 11, whatever it's called, is out. That's Roxy. I'd started off, me and this fellow and I have played before. I had a video where he was the greatest player of all time. That was in that video, I guess. You'll see how he does here. We started off in Roosevelt Island, and the group leader never jumped in. And then, of course, we had one person that had a shield build. They went forward, got wiped. They quit. Then he quit. Then we all got out of that legendary. And now we're in the capital, which I didn't know which one is for the month where we get the exotic. But I just want to run a legendary. So one of the reasons why you're taking the Jammer Pulse is because it's an AoE. It's a fire and forget. You don't have to aim at anything. It just hits everyone that's near you. Number two, the reason why you're using a healing hive, it's an AoE, area heal, it's a fire and forget. In a legendary, you are focusing on enemies, getting into cover, looking at your environment, looking at flanking. This is why I take some of these skills that I do. And so there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat for sure, but I've tried a lot of different ways. And obviously, if there's 6 pieces and I don't know how many combinations there are of, there's probably, millions of combinations of mods and everything you can put on your stuff. There's a thing called Pareto, and basically that's the most likely things, or if you have a set of data, like maybe the 3 top things or the things you try to deal with. In general, when you're in a legendary, excuse me, you're looking for high DPS, high survivability, and high DPS, high survivability, and let's say high utility. There's no set that does that. I wish I could give you the build that in a group it would do that. One of the things I don't ever explain to you, I've said it, I've mentioned it, but the game scales. So as you get in a 4-man group, the enemies are a little more bullet spongy. I'm going to try to prove how much. I'll try to go this weekend and make a video on that. But in general, what might work in a solo might not work in a 4-man. And for sure, there are some builds. So I probably can count off the top of my head 3 players. I don't know their names, but I've been in some legendaries, let's say since November when I've been doing these videos. There's been 3 people that pretty much just walked through there. Not walked, but they didn't need to be healed. They went out by themselves. So it was 3 of us and 1 of them, and that's how it went. Now, the only reason why that guy needs you is because he can't kill anyone, right? So he's all defense, and he's maximum defense, and would take him forever to kill people. I did legendary District Union, and I got to the when I got to the boss, I couldn't kill the boss. I couldn't even get to the boss. I ended up quitting because it just had taken so long. There's no great achievement other than personal satisfaction. Here you see I am doing the Jammer Pulse on a couple of the spawns in this area. They spawn on that second deck. Sometimes I've never seen it personally, but I can see it through the walls. My teammates will play over on the right, and they'll engage the people over on the left. I normally play from here, and I'm doing this. If I have a high damage DPS build, I'm playing from here. I just play from here all the time. And so some of the things about the build, I've been in a legendary where I had 3 of the same builds. Not enough. We still finished the thing, but not enough DPS. And you guys are overwriting. So when you have 2 people doing status effects that are going to use Vial Jammer, then number 1, they vials up for 10 seconds. They should be every second of a minute. They should have Vile Jammer damage on them. At this point, the Vile Jammer damage that I'm doing to regular people with my best build, 75K, which ticks 10 times, so it's 750K. And to technology, it's 88 or something like that. So it's doing nearly 900,000 damage. I'll try to get you some times to kill so you can figure out if I just pulsed what it would do. Is just having Vile Jammer, everyone doing Vile Jammer the best builds? No, it's not. So if you don't want to play this, this is fine, but this is a piece in your arsenal. As you get to higher watch levels, you should be able to make a set of gear like this that you can come in here. As you become a senior person in Division, as new people come into Division 2, you can help roll them through that. So I'm trying to use blind in this too, and I'm less than thrilled with it because I don't get a lot of use out of it. There's a dog on this section of the map. The next section, there's no dog, and then there's a dog again. So it's kind of wasted. And so I've said in another video, having blind and Jammer Pulse is kind of overpowering because if you're in an area where you can use it all, everyone's on lockdown. And a lot of times you don't have enough seconds in the day to send out both. So you're better off with something else. If your group doesn't have enough DPS, you're putting out a turret. A turret is constant aggro. It's if a Chunga comes, it takes some of the Chunga stuff. When you're doing a legendary, you need to have damage, you need to have survivability, and you need to have some type of utility for the Black Tusk, which is the Jammer Pulse. And this pretty much goes for every legendary, because in the legendaries, there's always Black Tusk. This goes for all the manhunts, because in the manhunts, if you play Chirpy or Micro, there's dump truck loads of guys, but I'm pulsing the living everything out of those people. They stop recruiting when I come in there because I'm just killing them all. I'm not killing them all. I'm putting damage on them constantly. Through a wall, underneath, on top, down below, to the left, to the right. Everything else, do whatever you want. So this guy keeps going on and offline. It's not his fault, but he keeps going on and off. And you're going to see in this next part, in my build, I can do a lot of indirect damage. I stand by that door. I never open that door. I put on Seeker Mines and the Vile Jammer build, and I'm just going to pulse the enemy nonstop. But when I'm in different groups, I kind of look at what people are playing. I might have to do something a little different. Why don't I use a chem launcher? Because I don't want to wait the hours and hours and hours to get all those things back to switch that skill. It's a great skill, just a pain in the ass when I want to switch it. Same thing with a Hive, unless you have fast recharge or you have those gloves. So I'm going to start pulsing now. And so normally you don't play outside here. The tank can do whatever he wants. The other folks, one has an oxidizer and one I think has artillery. So they're kind of stuck. They need to play outside. So I'm going, do I really need blind now? And I'm going to have to change that skill because even though it's okay, it's not going to help my team. Because you can see we got a couple guys down. We're struggling right now already. And this is a powerful team. But some of your builds, some of the technology, I've been in these legendaries. Capital, Roosevelt, DCU, with artillery people, and they just destroy. But it's a different mix when they have that artillery. So it's not that artillery is a bad skill. Just gotta, I hate to say this, read the room. I wish I could give you the exact template. This is what you need to do every time, but there is no exact template for this is what you need to do every time. I know the pieces you need, You need a weapon DPS, you need a skill DPS, you need someone that's going to do crowd control. Then you need that fourth person who can do whatever they want. Also want to tell you about, I'm going to call these three legendaries are the legacy legendaries. They were designed whenever they came out with them. They're all designed roughly the same. And Manning National Zoo and Tidal Basin are different. They're more slogs, so it's more of an endurance test. The battles are a lot longer. They're a lot longer because of the following. At Tidal Basin, you get through the first one, that's pretty easy. You get to the second battle, it's a wide-ranging area. Your skills can't reach them. And they have grenadiers and drones, so you'd have to have like a little party, an organized party. Again, if you're in a clan or people you play with all the time, you could devise a strategy that would work. But in your pickup group, it's just going to be, there's a wall, you're going to go to the corner of the wall, you're going to shoot, and they're going to shoot you and blow you up, and you're going to do this long thing, and people are going to pulse and throw seekers, and it's long and big problem. So we're at the point now where I've had to throw out my revive hive, right? And so now I'm stuck. That's just no DPS I can do. It gets back up to 7 finally, and then I'm going to change it. And this is the only part we really slow down on. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to Seekers. And I'd like to, and I say, what if I can damage the people so fast that we don't need to get people back up? Again, it's a good group. It just, however, the mix of skills, you got to be out. So that's a lot of times. I was watching a fellow YouTuber, Ultimate Shield 340. He's doing Manning National Zoo, the boss, last part of it. And eventually, he's getting hit a lot because he's using Capacitor, which is the best skill weapon to use. The problem is, to get the maximum effect out of it, you always got to be out of cover shooting people. For Heroic and down, it's great, but in a Legendary, you just get hit too much. So he has a backup, Resolve, or whatever it's called, and that works. And so I just use Test Subject. The reason I use Scorpio is because it has some crowd control on it. And so, oh gosh, that's one of the things that I don't normally explain. I'm sitting in the thing saying, hey, here's the build, but more importantly, having crowd control or having a heal or having a decoy. On Roosevelt Island, if you jump over and fight from the crates right there, the containers, you need to have a decoy. Is it possible that you can do it without the decoy? Sure it is. But 9 out of the 10 groups that I'm in don't have enough horsepower. It's a joy when I'm in a group where they have so much DPS. I just go straight heals if they need it, and that's it. Because we have so much DPS. Because they're putting everyone down so fast. If you're not putting everyone down so fast, and you're getting drones. And I explain another thing. When someone in your group, you spend a lot of time optimizing I spend a lot of time optimizing my build. People spend a lot of time optimizing their build. Your total damage in a group. So if you get an extra 10% on your damage, sorry for the math, but that 10% is only, that's your 25% of the given there. So if you didn't have that extra 10%, you'd really have what's 10% of 25. You'd really have 22.5%. So your group would be down to like 97.5. When someone goes down, you guys go to 75% effectiveness. So people that don't prioritize getting picked up or picking people up, that's going to be a problem. Number 2, if you run out so far away where we can't pick you up, who cares about how sweet your build is? Now we're down to 75%. It's going to take, just if everything being equal, 25% more time. And this is only in the Legendary. Again, you can go through Heroic. You should be able to Heroic at a certain point. When your watch score is 1,000 or above, you should be able to solo all heroic content, whatever build you have. I have a video where I have yellows and I use purples to do the Fallen Crane's control point, and I do it with both of them. What's the difference? Just time. I do a lot of side-by-side comparison videos where I've done it with exotic submachine gun weapons, and it doesn't matter. It's just time that it takes. When you get on a legendary, when you push too hard, you get punished. If you make it through one and you don't say, oh, we were lucky, and you continue saying, oh, we're going to push all the time, you're going to wipe. And I want you to think about this. The time you're spending to do this legendary is going to be anywhere from, in the best case, I saw someone do one in 9 minutes. You're not going to do them in 9 minutes. Let's say you're going to do it in a half hour. And then it's going to go to at least an hour or more. The time that you have to go and reset, you're not going to want to do that. So who cares if it takes you 35 minutes if you don't wipe then instead of 30? And these are kind of the things that you got to help in your decision. And so part of the name of this video is, what build are you? What build are you in your life? And so I'm not going to tell you what to be, but I'm going to tell you there's tools out there that you can do to see what kind of person you are. And maybe you know what kind of person. Maybe your person says, I know what kind of person I'm. Then that's great. Then what I would ask you, and I'd submit to you as part of the things in your life, then be that person. And be that person that's the same thing in a game. If you're a person that's got to push through, then you're going to make builds that help you push through, but you have to do things that protect yourself. Like, I got to have some savings or whatever. Whatever that is in real life, they have to do that you can do legendary. So you don't have to start all over again. And I don't want to be preachy to you because the reason I'm doing these videos is because I've made a ton of mistakes. I started a division. I think I would never, on Division 1, I did legendaries eventually because I was with a crew of people. We did so much content. We were so well in tune with each other. We could do anything, and we were great. We knew what each person was going to do. It was fantastic. When I got to Division 2, I didn't run with those people anymore, and I just didn't do that content. And then I slowly tried doing that content, and I failed because I didn't understand the content. And at this point, I have an advantage. I know the map, I know the fights, and that goes a long way to doing stuff. But you might not ever get to see the fights if you're the person causing the group to wipe. And if you quit if you don't have enough time to invest in a legendary, then, you're how are you helping the group if you're going to rage quit if you go down because, you only have a half hour and it's going to take 45 minutes. So I would just say, this is just kind of in general, know what you want to do in the game. You want to have fun, I hope. Make a build to do that. I'm offering you this build get you almost through 90% of the content. I went through most of a legendary District Union solo with this build. But if I don't know what the point of soloing legendaries is other than to say that you did it. But for the majority of the content, you're going to be able to do the majority of content, see all this stuff. There are times, I think, what was that manhunt where it was the general where you had to go to the countdown place? I put that back on challenging because I just wanted to see the content. It was just too hard. I've played Countdown before and I went solo and they said, oh, you can go solo. And I tried to do it on challenge. It was too hard. So I dialed it back because I wanted to see the content. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't know the fights. I didn't know where anything was. So there's nothing wrong with dialing the content back so you can see the game. But then what I'm going to submit to you, one of the big points of this game is to collect loot to make better builds so that you can do tougher content. The toughest content in the game is legendary, I would guess. You can do it on Summit. You can do it on 5 of these missions now. You can PvP, and that's a whole different animal. I don't do that, but I might try. But the thing I'd say to you is, not only is there a gear component, but there's a playstyle component. And I'm going to give you an example. I started playing Destiny 2. That game really isn't, I mean, gear is important, but I don't know how to do the, I don't know how to play the game. So I just suck because I don't know how to play the game. And made me realize, man, if I don't know how to play the Division, I don't suck because I'm a sucky player. I just don't know the mechanics of the game. So I'm going to say that to you. If you don't know the mechanics of the game, that's okay. Then you're going to watch some of these videos. If you're on a PC, I'd run you through everything. I'll teach you everything I know. I don't get anything for it. That's what I'd like to do. But it's not all about gear. And so a lot of this stuff, and it's not all about the builds. It's about how you play the game. And by mean how you play the game, it's if you recognize that you can't push in some spots. You're not the person that's always out in front. You're not the always person behind. You kind of help your teammates. You try to figure out how you fit in to make a team. So there's tests you can take. There's the Briggs-Meyer test, which tells you, kind of gives you an idea of what kind of person you are. There's a test called Perception. It's like 100 questions. You do the 100 questions. It's a long thing to go through the 100 questions, but then it will tell you what kind of person you are. Is that the kind of person you are for the rest of your life? No. It just gives you an idea. It's a snapshot into where you are. And I've done a lot of those in my career, out in my business career. I've had a lot of those kind of evaluations at different places where they give you that kind of thing to kind of gauge yourself, see where you fit in a team and what have you. And those things can be helpful. What kind of build are you? And I'm going to get really soft. So if you're in a relationship, there's a thing called love languages. Doesn't mean everything has to be like that. But what was interesting about the love language is there's 5 different types. And no, you might not be 100% of one, but you may have tendencies. Your spouse may have different tendencies. And so what can happen is then you can kind of mesh. If you don't mind saying you love your spouse to them, but they'd rather that you give them gifts, then what does it matter that you tell them you love them? That's okay for you to give it. Maybe you like to be physically close. Maybe you want them to sit in the same room, but they want to bake you cookies instead. They're showing you that they love you, but it's not in the language that you most prefer. So there's all these things to know what kind of build you are. The simplest things, and I don't want to make it binary because it's not, but they say introvert or extrovert. Again, I tell you it's more of a scale. If you get off the binary thing about life, I'm either left or right, I'm either up or down or whatever. It's more of a scale. I think I've talked to you before about, in quantum mechanics is all like probabilities. Where's the electron? Well, we know it's probably and most likely in this area or what have you. And I'd say that's a good analogy for your life. So what build are you? When it comes to the Division, are you a red player? And why are you a red player? What do you like about a red player? Are you a yellow player? Why do you play yellow? What do you like about yellow? Are you a blue player? Are you a hybrid person? Do you like to mix them all and be a little bit of other ones? I can't tell you how many times I see people running greens and they'll have 5 greens. And the bonus set stops at 5. But they want to be that person. They want to be the one that flips the cards, let's say. And they have 5 pieces of it. And so that's not bad. I would just say kind of don't make a judgment out of it. Just realize that that's what it is. Why? Why do I put 5 green pieces of the same type? Why do I like being a red? Why do I like spaghettis on Tuesdays? Well, because my family always had it. Makes me feel comfortable. Or whatever it is. And I would submit to you, you can get some of that from playing games. Because games are models of a simulation. This game is a model of a universe where there's been a pandemic and the world's gone crazy and you've been selected as a person. So what type of person what type of mask do you wear? Are you a person that you're a division but you wear the welder's mask? And sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. I'll just tell you that. And for some of you who already got a good idea where you're at right now, that's great. So I'm not trying to tell you to do anything. I'm just saying it's a good question to ask yourself. Do those things kind of match up? So there's some things you can do to find that stuff out. And usually all those things are free. And I'd recommend to do it. It's something to give you a good idea about yourself. There's a bunch of good books that you can read. The guy, I think his name is James Gray or John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. If you ever get a chance to listen to him, he has some really good stuff to say. And really, it's about not being so binary, is to being open to this kind of continuum that you might be on. And you might be all the way to one side, and that's okay. You don't have to be in the middle. You don't have to change, but to know where you are helps you just go in the world. I'd say from my perspective, I'm a little bit older than the majority of people playing the division, I would guess. So, builds are important. Division 2 is a fun game. Destiny 2 is a really fun game. Games are just fun. How we get through them, how we play, all are things that can help us. I'm going to get smoked right there for picking that guy up. And I've told you that is one of my flaws right there. I don't mind dying trying to res somebody. But I was pretty close and they could get me back up. This will be about 30 minutes. I would say in general, for the 3 legacy legendaries, it should be 30 minutes or less. Right around 30 minutes. Those are good times. For the other ones, if you're like 45 minutes or less, they're just longer flights. And that gives you an idea how you're doing in that. If you want to get into legendaries, you don't know how, go to the summit, go on legendary, don't put any directives on. And then try to do it. Once you can do those, then start putting directives on. And if you get to the point, I'd say a pretty ultimate test is put on like 7 directives. You got to do 2 floors with 7 directives. So that means you got to go through 4 different rooms. You do that and you get some kind of XP or whatever in the summit. But you pretty much can do anything. But do you need that to do that? No, you don't need to. You don't need to have that done to be a legendary player. But it just gives you good practice to see how it is. So this is Ronan Kazi signing off. Hope I didn't piss you off too bad. What's your build? Talk to you soon. See you on the other side.